Hey guys, it's Ash and P again, here for our second episode. Last week we talked about who is Ash. I just gave a little background.
And there's still so many layers to that, I feel.
So many layers. Like you said, ogres.
Ogres.
We're ogres. So this week we are going to talk about who is P.
Gosh.
So let's maybe peel back the first layer.
Okay, let's start. Yeah, let's start surface. So I am also a mother and a wife and an older sister. I'm the eldest of so many. 9 plus, I guess, really 3 others. I'm the eldest of 9. Blended families. I have a blended family just like Ash does. I work and yeah, that's like surface. So that's surface.
Okay. So let's do first I know we had mentioned you have 3 girls.
3 girls, ages 18 months, just turned 3. So that's super fun. And 15. And that is like the
Even
most
more fun.
Woohoo! All girls. My husband is totally overshadowed by all of the women in the house.
A lot of estrogen.
A lot. And I will say that already at like 3, there's already some like emotions that come with 3-year-olds.
Yes. And not just because I feel like, obviously my girls, they were 4 and 6 when Jason and I started dating. So a little bit older. And then, but the boys, I feel like they're like, they had obviously emotions, like they would get mad, angry, things like that. But not like girl emotions.
Yeah.
No, because I really, and I don't know, maybe our bodies just kind of gradually grow into it or something. But it's like she, I feel like, can be hormonal.
Yeah, I know.
It's crazy. At 3, it's like, and I don't know, maybe Danny will be different.
Maybe. What's interesting is Tristan, who's my 15-year-old, she was not that way. She was a pretty chill kid.
She's pretty mellow. I mean, I know, she's
mellow.
A 15-year-old
she's
girl.
mellow, but she's a mellow personality, but she's 15. She's got raging hormones. She's got a lot of going on. COVID. Yes. There's finding yourself. Yeah. There's figuring life out. There's, kids. I sound like an old person here where I say kids these days, but kids these days, they think they read things and they see things on social media, and then therefore they're in the know.
Everything.
They know everything.
And so they have very strong opinions and very strong feelings about things. And so that plays into all of it too. So it's not just like she's a 15-year-old girl who, back when we were kids, when we were 15, it was like, cool. Maybe we watched some TV, but it was more like,
I know we were talking about this. I can't remember who I was talking about it with, Tony, but we were saying how remember how it was like back in the day, it was like our parents telling us like, you're watching too much TV. Like that was our thing. Like maybe we had they had to monitor our TV watching. But now it's like the phones, the internet, the social media alone. I mean, there's just like, it goes on and on and on.
And social media, I'm sure we'll get into this too, because I think it does play a big part, but, I notice it even impacting my emotions. Yeah. I think that is one of the reasons I mentioned last episode that I am not great with social media. Yeah. And I think that is part of it, is that, it can suck you in. Yeah. It can really suck you in. And so like for kids who aren't real, they're probably not reading it. Like when I'm reading
their
it,
brains
and I'm
are
thinking,
still like forming.
Exactly. Like I can read it and be like, okay, chill out, like calm down after, like it was just a post, shut it down.
Right.
But kids they aren't like that. Yeah. And it's more of a, I think for me, social media is just a thing. And for them, I feel like they feel like it's more of like an extension of them.
Well, and I feel like it's, and I feel like it's kind of taken the place of like texting and stuff,
right?
Even, you know,
right?
Like they really communicate and have conversations over social media more than they are even just picking up the phone.
For us, like as we got older, it was instead of calling, like when we were kids, it was calling.
It was
and
calling.
Then it was texting.
Yeah. It was the staying up late until your boyfriend fell asleep on the phone and you guys were totally asleep. You know?
Yes, exactly.
That doesn't happen anymore.
No.
Maybe over FaceTime. I don't know. I haven't had that issue.
But I feel like that would only be if they're long distance.
Yeah.
Like I know Deja and Anthony would FaceTime, like they would have long FaceTime. But I mean, he was in Florida, she's in California. And so like that type of thing. But I'm sure nowadays that doesn't happen. I think social media is a lot. And so that plays into 15-year-old girls being,
I know.
There's a lot to unpack with the 15-year-old girl in general.
There is. Everyone keeps telling me survive the next 3 years and you'll be good. It'll get better. I'm like, okay, I've got 3 years to survive. Great. Awesome. And then,
okay, now that I think of it, and in different ways, like Kyla, luckily, we didn't ever have, like, we didn't butt heads at that age. There wasn't ever any, like.
Did she bump heads with her mom a lot?
More than us. Mm-hmm. And that's probably a lot to do with she lived with her mom. Mm-hmm. She was with us every other weekend. And so it wasn't, like when she was with us, she didn't want to go out with her friend. She didn't have friends here. We lived in 2 different towns.
Right.
So that makes a big difference. We didn't have to keep her from, no, you have to stay in tonight, because she was always going to stay and she didn't have friends here. So that was different. But I would say 15 was our hardest year with Kyla. It wasn't like what you're dealing with. It wasn't anything like that. But it was like I don't know if you remember, that was the year that maybe she was going to move here. Remember?
Okay, yeah.
Like that was that year when things, and it was, I don't want to say like it was our hardest year, like, because it wasn't difficult for us and her. It was difficult on her.
Right.
It was a hard year for her.
And I think that that's where we are. I really do feel like we are just, and it's hard because you tread, sometimes I'm like, nope, this is this way. It is that, blah, 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 blah. And too bad, so sad.
Right.
But there also comes like that soft side where you're like treading lightly because I understand.
Yes.
Like I get that she is going through something.
Right.
And I get that she is trying to figure her shit out.
Right.
And she can't because she's 15. The hard thing is when they can't because they're 15, but then
they think they know
everything. They think they know and they don't accept your help because it's like, no, you just don't get it. And it's like, no, I do get it though, because I was a 15-year-old girl, you know, dealing with completely different issues.
Yes.
But I was a 15-year-old girl.
Yeah. But do you remember, like, I remember, gosh, being a teenager and thinking like, oh my gosh, like,
hating
is it always gonna, no, I never hated my mom, thankfully.
I did have those moments where I
hated
my mom, which is why I know she's going to hate me. I know she hates me sometimes, you know. I always loved my mom, but I remember feeling like, oh, I hate her.
See, I don't know. And so obviously, like I had mentioned before, like we grew up poor. At that age, my mom was a single mom, and we lived in a 2-bedroom apartment. So Robbie and Steven had a room, and my mom and I shared a room. So my mom and I were very, very close. Like I remember like we used to fall asleep just talking to each other. So
that's sweet. We had the same setup. We had a 2-bedroom.
No, but you were in the kitchen.
But I slept in the kitchen. Yeah. Yes, in the dining room.
So you weren't sharing a room with your mom.
I did not share a room with my mom.
See if you'd
shared. She'd rather be by herself.
If you had shared a room with your mom, maybe you wouldn't have wanted to like.
That's true. She would just wanted me in her bed with her.
Well, we had separate beds.
Although I will say, so then when she had my little brother, I guess I do need to go back into all this stuff, but
yeah, we got to go through the siblings. We have to finish with your kids.
Though, yeah. Too. Yes. So when but yes, so I had a little brother, 16 years younger than me. So she had like a crib and a baby, in her room with her.
Yes.
So still single mom, but
right. Yeah. No, I mean, it happens.
Yeah.
Well, and for like when you were 15, was she with your stepdad?
Off and on, unfortunately. Okay. Yeah.
So, and we'll unpack all of that. Another time.
Speaking of children, here comes one little minion.
A little door spring eater.
Oh,
did she eat the thing off of it?
Back? Yeah. No. Awesome.
That's 18 months.
18 months and loves the word no now. So I am the oldest. I grew up pretty much with a single mom. My mom was a teenage mom. She got pregnant at 15. I'm sure she's going to love this story. Had me at 16. However, looking back, there's been plenty of times throughout my growing up that I think what a strong person she is to have fought through that.
Yeah.
She stayed in high school.
Yeah.
She graduated from high school. Her and my dad, for some reason didn't work out. I don't know. Maybe because she was 15 and he was 17. I don't know.
Could have been personalities.
Totally.
Maybe we'll discuss that later.
Yeah. But, so she finished school, didn't go to college, but always was a hard worker.
Yeah.
And then she married my ex-stepdad.
Right.
And had 2 boys with him. We moved from Fresno to Oregon, moved back to Fresno.
That's a fun story we'll have to go over.
We will have to go over. We will have to go over a little bit more about him, but and all that. But they had to say it nicely, they had a rocky marriage. And although my mom really, really tried, I don't think that divorce was in her vocabulary, and it should have been at some point very early on, and it wasn't. And she stayed with them, and he would leave, and then it would be her and I and the kids and all that. And then when I turned 16, she had a baby with him. Like she'd gotten pregnant with him. They'd gotten back together for a little bit. Never divorced the whole time. They separated, whatever. So I have 3 brothers from him. They shortly after that divorced, after my youngest brother was born. And then she remarried much later. And my stepdad now has 5 kids. So they met because my youngest, does that make any sense? The oldest, youngest brother of mine that I grew up with, and his oldest were best friends in like high school and stuff.
Okay, I don't think I knew. I mean, I knew the boys knew each other, but I don't think
they were like best friends. Like they hung out every day, all of that.
Okay, remember you were talking about these secrets? Okay.
Yeah.
We're 14 minutes. Much earlier than my secret.
This is true. I'm not going to uncover a lost person, but yes, no, I'm just kidding.
Gosh.
But so they were best friends. So, and his parents, were separated. They were divorced from years and years ago. And so my stepdad, Steve, has 5 kids. He has 3 boys and 2 girls. And his youngest is actually 6 months older than my daughter, Kristen. So I know everyone's going, what the heck are you talking about?
Yeah.
You know, that's like, I always thought it was like a Mexican thing, but apparently it's not, because you're not Mexican. And
well, I don't have, I was going to say I don't have any, but my sister Jennifer, my nephew from her, my oldest nephew from her, is 6 months older than Deja. So I was going to say I don't have, but no, my nephew is 6 months older than, because that's cousins, not aunts.
Okay, well, I have an aunt who's a year younger than me.
Yeah, but that's mom having
mom having
a daughter early, and then your grandparents having a baby later.
Yeah, totally normal. Yeah. So there's 9 of us kids now. And then my biological father, actually has 3 boys. So
let's go through the kids.
Okay.
So first of all, I have to go back. I don't believe you told anyone your younger. I mentioned Danny's name, but did we ever mention Gigi?
No,
I don't think Gigi is name.
Gigi is my 3-year-old. She's my hot tamale.
Yes.
Although Danny's a hot tamale too.
I feel like they're different kinds of hot tamales. Like,
this is true.
Danny's a destructive hot tamale. Right. And Gigi's a sass hot tamale.
That's very true. They definitely already have their personalities.
For sure.
And then, and they keep me on my toes for sure. So my mom was telling me the other day, she's like, sometimes you get a kid that's like you, or that's like stubborn or something like that. She goes, you just had 3. And I'm like, oh, great. Thanks. That's awesome.
It's like when your parent says, I hope you have a kid like you. I don't remember my mom ever saying that. My mom and I had, we were pretty close, best friends, really.
That's sweet. My mom and I were partners.
Yes. See, I didn't have.
We were partners for sure.
Yeah.
But we also fought.
But partners do that too.
That's true.
Well, moms and daughters typically do.
Yeah.
I think my mom and I have a
good relationship.
We have a good relationship, but I think a lot of mom and daughters do. But I feel like maybe ours isn't necessarily normal.
Yeah. Neither is mine though. But I mean, look at my mom and I are 16 years apart.
And you guys are so close.
Yeah.
Now.
Yes, we are. We totally are. And I always think about that. I always say, I know when we had all 3 girls, it was Tony, my husband, is not getting a boy. But I always told them there's a couple of things with that. One is the girls are always going to come home. They'll always take care of their dad.
Right.
And 2, later in life, they will be my friends. Later in life, much later,
Right.
My 15-year-old would never call me her friend.
No.
And I would never want her to.
Right.
I don't want to be her friend. I mean, I want to be here for her, but I don't want to be her friend because that's not my role. I'm her mom.
Right. We have one day parent and get them to grow up, and then they can be friends.
But one day, they will be. And my mom and I are very close, and we are very much like sisters, more so than mom and daughter.
Well, and everyone thinks that you guys are.
Yes, because she's had a lot of Botox, so she looks really good.
Has she really had Botox?
No, she actually has never had
I was going to say, I didn't know that. I mean, you guys have great skin, though. You guys have great
Well, she used to tell me this. She used to always tell me, no matter what, you need to take care of your face and your hair. So spend money on your face and your hair, because you can wear the nicest clothes, but if your face is all jacked up.
Yeah, you don't want to be a butterface.
Yeah. And if your hair's all greasy and ugly, then, you're not going to look nice. So you can have Walmart clothes, or you can have, Macy's clothes or whatever, your fancy clothes, whatever. It doesn't matter but you need to have a pretty face and you need to have your hair done,
And that is great advice.
It is.
Dead serious, because, first of all, and our friends will vouch for me. I get all of my clothes. Okay, 95% of my clothes from Amazon.
Yes.
They're not. I hate shopping. I suck at it, and I just don't. I just don't shop. I don't like it.
Yeah.
And so I get my Amazon clothes, and they're always cheap. You know, I never buy expensive Amazon clothes. So there's, you know, that, but like I still, and I mean, I'm not very fashionable, so I'm not the greatest dresser, but you can find really cute things for cheap. You can dress very nicely for cheap.
Yes.
So that's very good advice.
Yeah. She always used to tell me that. I mean, that was probably one of her better advices that she gave me.
Forget all of those other life lessons and
those other ones, like that. When she used to tell me, like when I would have a boyfriend, she'd go, "Don't have a boyfriend. They don't love you. They're just going to leave you in the welfare line." I'm like,
okay, but and anyone listening that grew up poor will appreciate that sentence. Okay,
it's true.
That is.
But I was like, okay, well, you can't scare me from dating forever, and scare me that if I date, I'm going to end up in the welfare line. Like, my goodness.
Yeah. I mean, but eventually you knew that wasn't.
Eventually, yes. Yeah.
But at that time, maybe you did need to know that. Maybe it was good for that age. But okay, so let's get back to your siblings because you have not given any names or ages.
Yeah. So okay. Steven's 30. Julian is 29. Nico is going to be 28 this month. Those are and Tyler's in there. Tyler must be 27. He must be a year younger than Nico, or he might be the same age as Nico. Shoot, I can't remember.
I don't remember. I didn't give any of my.
But what I'm saying is, like, I have some that are older now, right? Like they're now becoming adults,
right?
Like, they're now like having their families and their lives, and that's all awesome. And then as you trickle down into, so then you've got like you've got Michael, Sierra, Jaron. And then Carly, and Carly is 16, which, like I said, she's 6 months older than Tristan.
Right. And she's the baby of the
And
nine.
she's the baby. So,
okay.
Much like my baby who's in the background. Sorry, guys. That's
real life.
Real life.
We said we were going to be real. We were going to be.
What you don't see is that I've been feeding them popcorn and nuts and like bananas.
Anything to try to get them to be quiet.
Yeah.
Okay, but. So you have to give the breakdown too. So Steven is your stepbrother
from Steve. So it's Steven Tyler, not Steven Tyler, but Steven and Tyler. It's Steven, Tyler, Michael, Sierra, Carly are all of my what you would call step
siblings.
Yeah, siblings.
Right. We're doing air quotes because here
they're just like they're
brothers.
They're just their brothers and sisters. Yeah. And then Julian, Nico, and Jaron are all from the same dad, which is not my dad. That would be my stepdad, my ex-stepdad. He who we will not name.
We will not name.
But they're all from my mom. They're like the ones that I guess I I grew up with.
Right.
And then my biological dad has 3 boys that I don't know. I know 2 of their names. I don't know the third one's name.
Do you want to name them or no?
No. It's hard because they're not like part of,
your life.
Yeah.
Yeah. So one thing you had mentioned, like, that you love that my brother and sisters, from my stepdad are just my brother and sisters. But and for me, like I was saying last time, the core 6, like my mom, like we were super fancy, obviously, like, you know, on our welfare and Medi-Cal and stuff, which anyone not in California, Medi-Cal is welfare insurance, essentially, in what would be like the Affordable Care Act type free insurance. It's that, like, it's that insurance. So my mom called us Lonnie and Wendy in the 6-pack. And which I mean, I guess it could be a 6-pack of soda, but we didn't really have soda in our house.
We didn't either. We grew up with
We
Kool-Aid.
had 6-pack of beer. Like my dad's an alcoholic, so there was always beer. So when she called us the 6-pack, I always thought that was
the beer.
So ghetto. Yeah, so lame. Beer for sure.
We never had soda.
We had Kool-Aid too.
We had Kool-Aid.
We were Kool-Aid people.
Sometimes we'd have apple juice. That was not always. That was kind of like a treat. But we did Kool-Aid and water and milk. That was like what we had.
Kool-Aid, water, and milk.
And then now, like, I don't keep soda in my house now because I don't know. I think I just never grew up with it, so I don't miss it or anything.
Yeah. I don't drink soda anymore. Once I was like a teenager, you know, like obviously not at home. At home, we never had soda. My mom doesn't drink soda. Like she didn't drink soda when we were kids. So she never, and you know, soda is not something you necessarily, not that Kool-Aid is something you need, but like soda's much more expensive than Kool-Aid.
Right.
And when you're poor, I mean, I know some poor people get soda, but we did not. That was not a priority for my mom.
Right.
Paying our electric bills was more of a priority. With 6 kids, 2 adults, and living off welfare, that's not that easy. You know?
And by the way, I have to say, because I feel like this too, and we grew up super poor, and like I said, my mom was pretty much a single mom, even though she stayed married for a long time. They were not together. And he was in and out of jail, and he was not a good person at all. And for sure not a good father and not a good help with her dad or with the kids. But she always worked. It's not like she didn't work. You know, she always worked. And I feel that way, like even about Wendy, like, they always had good jobs, or they always worked, or they always provided for as much as they could. It's just, that's where they were. Yeah. Their job wasn't what their job is now. You know, now.
And when I was growing up, my mom didn't work. She took care of all of us, which I mean, and I think that was relatively normal at that time, but not only that, taking like to send kids to daycare and things like that.
My gosh.
Like that's not something you get to do on welfare, right? Like
sure.
That's not it. So once Robbie was in school, my baby brother, once he was in school, then she actually went back to school once he was in school, and then started working obviously after she got like her associate's degree, and was not, I mean, even when my parents divorced, she was not making good money. Like I look back and I think, gosh, how did she raise 3 kids?
I know.
Like 3 teenage kids. You know, we were teenagers. Well, I was 14, Stephen was 13, and Robbie was like 10 or, 11, something like that.
A lot of mouths to feed.
And making like, I think she made, which back at that time, it might have been like decent-ish. I mean, it wasn't good money. It was like survivable, but like I think $8.25 or something like that. Mm-hmm. Like when I started my first job a year and a half later, my second job, I was making $4.75 more than that.
Oh no, I did my first job. Well, I shouldn't. I used to make I remember making $4.50 or $4.75. Maybe it would have been
started working when we were like 3.
This is true.
So I might have had Deja when I was 5, but you started working when we were 3.
This is true. Oh my gosh, we are like 29 minutes in.
I know, and I feel like we didn't even really get to cover who P is.
I know. P's a lot of things.
P is.
I have a hot mess story behind me, but we'll have to maybe continue. Maybe the next episode.
Next we'll do.
We haven't even talked about, like, we've kind of touched on who we are individually, but then we have to even talk about how we met each other.
Yeah. All that fun stuff.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so next week we'll come back. We'll talk a little bit about our story, how we met. You'll probably hear more of my kids talking and eating and coughing in the background because they did that throughout this entire episode.
Real life.
Real life. We're just trying to survive the day.
Yes.
And I want to talk about second marriages because we both are in second marriages,
yes,
but different roles.
Yes. This is my husband's second marriage. So I have it as the spouse of someone.
Yes. And this is my second marriage and my spouse's first marriage. So
we have both sides of the story, essentially. Yeah. So it'll be good. If you guys have any specific questions that you want us to cover or anything specific related to second marriages, just either DM us or comment.
Comment, DM us on at RealAshMP on Instagram or Facebook.
Or email us.
Yeah.
RealAshMP@gmail.com.
Yeah. And thanks for listening to us today. Thanks for swapping with us on this Wednesday.